Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna speak about Pulverize Druid. This is one of the most anticipated high-end game builds that you are thinking, should I be playing this build? Have you played this build? And to answer those questions, I'm making this video. Straight away, I can tell you, yes, I have played this build. I have played this build to the core till the moment I decided that it's about time for me to drop this video and tell you how it feels, how it looks, and what are my feels after spending around 100 hours or even more in the game playing this build. First of all, what I can tell you, this build is, as it says on all of the websites, yes, it is extremely powerful. Yes, I can clear all of the content. Yes, it is super easy to play. And is it as tanky as everyone is saying? Absolutely. If you're looking for easy to play, 2 buttons, 1 left click to charge up your stuff, right click to release everything, this is as simple as it gets Druid build. You get to be cool werebear, you get to kill enemies, you get to kill enemies in packs, you get to kill enemies that are behind you, you get to kill enemies that are in distance from you. So overall, this is an amazing build if you're looking to jump into Diablo. If you haven't played it, if you haven't tried Druid in particular, I believe this is one of the best builds for you to start the game, best builds for you to get familiar with the games, and best build to just overall get you more gear and get you to unlock more places, as it is extremely powerful. Sounds fancy, right? Okay, since we can all complement the Druid, we know the benefits, the goods, the bests, right? I'm not gonna hide it, I'm just gonna show it. Let me change the screen layout. There it is. You can see it's snowing. I'm next to the fireplace. This is the best opportunity for me to share my build that I'm using to play as a bear. So far, I can tell you I'm owning the place. This is extremely easy for me to go to World Tier 4. I have multiple videos on that already, but let's get into the juicy stuff, right? First of all, the skills. This is very straightforward, and each and every Pulverized Bear build uses the very same skill combinations. That is the damage booster for you, so you could kill monsters faster. Your damage reduction if you are fighting something up close. Your movement ability, so you could close gap and do additional damage if you don't have enough resources. This is your escape ability while you are not using your damage reduction and additional damage skill. And also this is your escape ability from the freezes, from roots, from I don't know, when you are just stunned in the place. This can make your troubles go away. And yeah, basically Earth Spike is like, this is not an option for you. You kind of have to take this skill because it has a huge damage based on your build. And of course, Pulverize, as you can see, it says 10, because this is a huge damage number. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna show you my build. So I have not so much power, right? Just 3.5k armor, life, and you will notice throughout my build, I'm not using any sort of magical items. I'm very specific on what kind of set pieces I'm taking, and I'm very specific on what kind of things I'm willing to invest in when I'm turning my items into legendaries, or I'm just trying to do something a little bit more out of my gear. So I'm very picky when it comes to stats. So even though I haven't followed any of the guides in general, I managed to do this. So I believe if you want to invest your time, you can do this very same. You can do the very same thing as well. But since you're here, I'm here to help you out if you're a little bit lost, or if you are trying to compare. Is it good thing to turn into Pulverized Bear, or you're willing to go to Werewolf, Tornado build? Who knows? Both builds are awesome. I personally, I would say, I would encourage you to try both of the builds. However, both of the builds require different items. And if we're speaking about different item sets, we do need to understand that we can't really choose ancestral items that we get from the drops. And as they are super powerful, in some cases, it really kind of allows us to just move easily to one particular build and just play it without any sort of problem. So this was a long intro, right? Okay, what I got here. So you can see multiple stats that I have that I'm using, but this level is only 51. Can you see the level 51 item that I have applied Fortify, so I would have reduced damage, because I always have 45, and this is just ancestral item that I have received at the very early game. As it says 51, most likely I received it at level 51. So that was good. Second ancestral item that I received, oh, it was level 55. This was a default item that turns me into bear form and allows me to remain in bear form throughout each and every time when I'm outside of the town. Plus, it gives me plus 2 skills, which is cool. And I don't know how, but I was very fortunate enough so that I received those stats that increase physical damage, overpower damage, damage reduction while 45, and total armor. I haven't changed anything. All I had left is just apply sockets and just play with it. So far, this item, I have received like 4 or 5 armors now, which are sacred, but none of those armors even compared to those stats that I have here. Yes, like upper level items have more armor, but the stats that I see here, this is insane. Moving on, I have one of the, I think this is my weakest item yet. This is gloves that I have not received anywhere close. So I was aiming to receive multiple stats, 2 ranks to pulverize and overpower, and of course I'm imprinting, I'm making my own aspects to make it pulverize available item for me, so that all of those stats benefit me, all of those stats complement my build. If I don't have those stats available, it's useless gloves. I don't really care too much about the armor, because bear form gives so much credibility and so much armor that I can just forget about it. Moving on, of course, I have the leggings. This is very easy. This is imprinted stats, but I'm looking at the very same initial things. Like, all of the stats complement me. I need armor, I get armor. I'm fighting enemies up close, I'm getting damage reduction from enemies up close. And even additional damage reduction, right? Cool stuff. Oh, this is the weakest link. I don't even know my build yet. So this is shoes that I believe 1+ to evade is like key thing for Druid to make it work. If you have like damage reduction for additional evade skill, or faster recharge, or movement speed after one evade, it doesn't work. You're slow as a class. If you want to catch someone in PvP, if you want to close gap enemies, your closing gap ability trample is on reuse. The only possible option for you to use second evade, that's just basically double jump to enemy, which is cool. And all of the stats that I see here benefits my incapability of closing gaps with enemies. So I have 2 leaps that I can close gap. I have all stats that benefits my Paragon points that I can tell later on. And I have movement ability increase that just drastically increases the speed, as bear by default is super slow. Okay, secondly, we have amulet. This is very simple amulet that I have made myself. I was trying to find something better, but this is something very initial, default. Really, I haven't found anything, or maybe I'm not just looking too hard for those things. Rings, similar as that. I was hoping to get like sacred ring that could have my primary resource regeneration more than 1, as I have imprinted myself, but what can I do? And same thing with this thing. So this is like complementary for ultimate ability, Grizzly Rage, that just gives me ability to increase duration of my ultimate, so that I could fight monsters longer. And of course, my weapon, I can tell it, this is by far my luckiest find yet. I found this weapon, yes, on level 49, and check out the stats of this weapon. Like, damage to... Okay, first, overpower damage, 94%, then damage to injured, critical damage with earth skills, damage to close enemies, lucky chance to just execute enemies that are just in the way of elite monsters. And additionally, I imprinted the Pulverize has a shockwave effect that just pushes enemies, pushes the wave after you slam dunk the ground. It just moves like a wave of ground towards the enemy. So that looks very, very cool. The way those things work, I can tell you, as a druid, if you're not aware, in order for you to unlock multiple passives, you need to capture Tuldulra stronghold, and after that you'll be able to take a quest, so you could become a druid spirit master of animals. So you have different animals. You have deer, you have eagle, you have wolf, and you have deer again. Or maybe this is like spirit animal, even something else. I don't remember. Follow me on this. Okay, so first off, if you want to be as tanky as possible, if you want to be only focusing on damage, you need to have damage passive. So I do damage reduction from elites. I do increased critical damage to make more damage. Of course, extended duration of damage increase of our ultimate ability. That is amazing, right? And I have shape shifting that brings me back life after I'm doing damage. This is by far the best selection. Other folks are using increased attack speed. It's not needed. You can avoid and you can play with certain abilities, but at the end I noticed that druid in general is slow. You can't make slow animal faster and make it do more damage. It just, at the end, it just comes down to two things: your lucky crits and your ability to have as much resources as possible when you can. Because when you have, you can just pulverize non-stop and have a lot of things taken care of from the very get-go. Alright, when it comes to skills, necessary basic skill for this build to work. Again, this is end game build. It's when you collect all of the items. So you need to use this earth skill, earth spike skill, that could stun enemies and that can restore life of you. Because if you're not using pulverize skill, you are trying to regain resources so that you could use the pulverize skill and use more of your power, so you could shred the enemies, right? So how come I'm not using this, right? Simply put, is that it doesn't really have so much of a damage potential, as well as this can be used from distance, and this is amazing. You can use it from the distance, as pulverize is also a distant skill now. So what happens is you need to invest into this particular skill, so you could regenerate more resources after you are attacking the enemy from afar, and afterwards your core skill, which is pulverize, is receiving 15% more increased damage, which is good, as this skill scales, well, I don't know, this is a fancy word, tremendously, right? And yeah, this is basically two options that you can choose. You either want to use overpowered damage so that you could stun enemies if you know that you are strong enough, if you know that you can withhold some of the damage, and if you're a little bit weak early on, you can easily use this skill. It really doesn't have so much of the difference. Yeah, moving on, you still need to have critical strike against close enemies. This is my secret powder. I get up close and get behind the enemy and just pow the enemy. And yeah, you can't beat too close, and you need to be as much as protective as possible. So yeah, I do damage reduction. This skill that protects me from a lot of stuff. If I have tough situations, if I'm in the dungeon, if I'm gonna be hit by lightning, or I'm expecting any sort of damage, I use this skill to have any sort of protection or additional protection that protects my health from me falling down if I know that this could be a fatal hit. This is kind of an optional thing, but this is my thing that I like to use. Is this protective skill makes me unstoppable. Therefore, if I'm being frozen, stunned, or I'm being trapped by traps, this sort of skill breaks me loose and helps me with this situation, so that I could escape it. Also, an optional skill. This is my increase of damage reduction, 5%. I'm not increasing it more because I ran out of skills, and those two skills basically are optional. Absolutely optional. You could invest those skills into anything else, but besides that, these are the core elements that I'm about to share with you. This is the damage reduction skill that is useful only after world tier 3, and it gives you health and it gives you a little bit of fortify. This is very straightforward, and because since enemies are hitting you a lot, you want to have some sort of damage reduction, and if you know that you're getting hit, you want to heal a bit as well. Simple, right? Next up, we're moving to companion skills. We are not using any of the companions. We could be using companions, but we are not, simply because companions are not as fast as we are when it comes to dealing damage. But from the companion tree, we are using one skill that is increasing our damage to distant enemies. Again, Pulverize is now a wave, therefore it's not skill up close that you can just press and it trashes everything or shreds everything, right? It's a distance skill. You get more damage from up close, but when you're out when you're shooting something from the safe distance, you need to have the skill upgraded. If you don't have Pulverize skill to be cast from the distance, then of course this is an optional thing. But here, when you do have it, it's a necessary thing to have upgraded in your skill tree. Next up, we're almost done. We have Wrath skills. This is very straightforward. Since we are using Werebear skills as Earth skills, we are increasing Earth skill damage. Also, we are getting 45 and life back from it, and yeah, it even increases our damage if we are using Earth skill. So again, like this thing increases our damage. Easy peasy, right? This is Trample. This kind of again, very optional thing to have, but I honestly like the close gaps. Not anywhere like needed for build to work skill, but it is there. Usually what you can see on all of the build guides, they will tell you that you need to use this setup for natural trample so that you could get more base life, therefore more protection when you are running away from the enemy or running to chase something, right? What I noticed is I just honestly hate regenerating spirit, and I would rather use this skill that has 14 seconds reuse just to get me 20 more spirits so I could use Pulverize faster rather than just have more protection. As you saw from the build that I'm using, I'm focusing like 75% of the skills towards the protection, but when it comes to the items, I'm on the offensive side. Therefore, it allows me to clear the content easy, fast, and I can do a lot of things early on. Yeah, and this is the very end. We have ultimate skills. So since we're using Earth skills, we need to overcompensate our abilities. Well, overcompensate rather than we need to show off our ability. So I'm using a nature magic skills that increases my damage to elite. This is the things that grants me additional health when I'm doing any sorts of damage. This ability increases my overall skills of Earth skills, as well as polar bear Werebear skills, and yeah, this is Earth skills deals increased damage. For ultimate, of course, this is very straightforward. We just bump all of the points to it. Key passives. So basically, there's two options to choose. You could be like, there's a Werebear, there's multiple variations, but to make Pulverize Bear work, this thing, this very small passive that gives you 5% chance to regain your full spirit, creates abilities for you if you're just shooting enemy from afar and you're trying to regain that 10 or 15 more spirits, so you could use that Pulverize to start fighting off new enemies or finish enemy that is just casting a new skill that could be fatal to you. You could just cast one Earth skill and poof, you have full resources, and you can do 3 or 4 Pulverizes instantly. This is like the best skill that I have learned to use, and yeah, this helped me ever since. Ooh, this is a lot of talking. Ooh. Okay, Paragon points. This is the confusion, and this is the thing that I'm still learning. So far it worked for me. I haven't looked up any of the guides. It took me some time to understand how to unlock second board, but yeah, I did that. And yeah, so what I do here is you can allocate points as much as you like, however you like. Again, you need to focus on two things. This is a secret, but this is an open secret. You need to focus on vulnerable damage that you can apply, and after you unlock this token throughout, well, just simply playing the game and going to tier dungeons, I do recommend you to add it to the very first slot, and after that just invest as little as you can to add dexterity, and that's it. You will turn your enemies into vulnerable. Vulnerable enemies get extra damage to them, so it's not even overpowered damage, it's not even critical damage, it's even more damage on top. So this is unbelievably huge damage increase that I have learned. Next up, I have applied and I have connected the board that gives me earth and devastation. So this is core elements of basically of earth skills. As again, bear skills, earth skills, you know that already. We are looking into glyph that I have added as again as a protection. So that gives me a huge damage reduction, huge. With this kind of thing, I can go through different portions of the game without struggling too much of what kind of things I want to, not really I want to, but what kind of things I believe that I want to explore, because I'm no longer limited by the zone, I'm no longer limited by the group if there's one or more players to help me out. I'm not limited by any sort of tier when it comes to dungeons. I'm solely limited by the armor count that I have and the health pool that I have, because I'm focusing so much on protection that it leaves so much room for damage dealing. And as bear itself has its own very big damage potential, and it is a very huge damage dealing class. Without even the passives, it's just very easy. You just build tanky, and you're gonna be doing multiple figures of damage. As per placing this video, I'll be uploading 2 videos as well, which show you how this build works, what kind of things I am using, what kind of things I'm applying, so that I just stomp through the content. I don't stress about it. I have unlocked World Tier 4 on my own. I tried multiple times, so you can see a video plays here on the top. But when we are speaking about this build, how this build works in particular, it's just very simple and easy. Just put on the beer, probably put on the gear that you think that benefits the build, and avoid any sort of gear that does not benefit the build. These are the stats that... Where's the stats? Yeah, there's the stats. No, there's the stats. These are the stats that I'm having for the class. And these are not the huge stats, but I have damage increases that multiply into different numbers. Like critical strike chance, damage, overpower damage. This is huge. All damage increase, vulnerable damage, damage versus crowd control, versus stunned, close enemies, injured that has below life. So basically, if I'm fighting enemy, the more I fight the enemy, most likely the enemy gonna be stunned, and most likely the enemy gonna be at lower health. So if one of those instances do happen, I don't know, basically I'm gonna have ability to kill enemy faster and faster. So yeah, so this is my werebear build. Again, I'm level 61. I have tried doing different things, I have tried playing different builds, and overall this just stuck with me. This is very straightforward, very simple. I wanted to see the whole game, I was able to do that. Of course, like, share and subscribe. And thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.